Today on First Cup, I'm going to tell you about my weekend. We're going to talk about today's episode of Martial Arts Radio. And there's still a bunch of questions you guys all asked in the new Facebook group last week. And I'll talk about them. Stick around. We're rolling in 15. I'm getting ready. Hold on. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Monday, September 6th, 2021. It's a holiday here in the U.S. It's Labor Day. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. I don't know the last time that I took this day, Labor Day, off. I understand the significance of it, but the sort of joke I've always made, what are you doing for Labor Day? I'm working because I work. I find it interesting that we celebrate the labor movement by not working. It's ironic. Good morning, Mel. Good morning, Stacy. Good morning, Denise, and all the rest of you who are joining. I'm surprised. I was mentally prepared for nobody to show up, that everybody would still be sleeping. But I'm glad you're here. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a pretty solid weekend. I'm kind of sore. I got a blister on my foot from a great hike yesterday. I had a friend reach out end of the week, and he wasn't doing so well. He's going through some stuff, and he said, "Hey, you hike, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, you could say that." And he said, "Can we go for a hike?" I said, "Absolutely." So we went for a hike. We went for a short one. If you're in the area, we did Stowe Pinnacle, and it was packed, as one would expect this weekend on that hill. But it was a good time. He had a good time, and we had some good conversation. And I think he was better off for it. Good morning, Daniel and Dennis. Wow, look at everybody showing up. So happy to see everyone. Coffee came out good. And then we had a drink, split a plate of nachos, and then I went grocery shopping and made pizza. And I said, I haven't bought a new bottle of whiskey in like 2 weeks. And I found this. Now, this is a Vermont-made bourbon. And the irony is, because I forgot until after I bought it, the friend I went hiking with is putting on an event next month, and he has a few sponsors, and one of them is actually this company. So how cool is that? Synergy's fun. These guys are based in Shelburne. It's a good bourbon. Wasn't terribly expensive, $30. I think that's all I'll say about it. I don't know how widely available it is, but it was decent. Tommy's here. Good morning. Mel says, "Oh, let me turn this banner off." Mel says, "Advantage, disadvantage of getting older. Your body's clock is set." Yes. Yesterday, I actually didn't get up until 7:30. That's almost 2 hours after I normally get up, which blew my mind. Saturday, I was up at 6:15 though. So, okay. What else happened? Built some garden beds in the yard. Well, we're not in the house. I built some garden beds and had them pretty much built and realized, oh, this is a really dumb thing to do. We're gonna change this. I built them level across the whole 24 feet, and because the ground isn't level, it looked really silly. So, and it would have been a ton of dirt moving. So I'm breaking them up and having sections that are level. It's gonna look way better. It looks like steps. It's kind of neat. What else happened? Grapes are coming in, so I started working on dealing with those, and just a bunch of other stuff, saving seeds and just all of it. Denise says, nachos. Nachos are good. The place we went has decent nachos. I make really good nachos. But the problem with really good nachos is you eat them all. These are really good. And there's a lot there. It's a lot of cheese. If I was going to sell food, it would probably be nachos. Do I make wine in with the grapes. I don't. I could, but I don't. I don't have a fruit press. I have a juicer, which is a. If you've ever used a home juicer, you don't get that much, and then the amount of clean out relative, it would be annoying. I have one of those big fruit presses in my Amazon cart. I've thought about buying it. And I thought about buying it. I was like, oh, okay, I can do it for cider, and then I can do it for grapes and maybe make wine. Not this year. Maybe next year. So we'll see. Daniel says, you have feet, don't you? I do have feet. I don't know that I have anything big enough to, well, I guess I could. I could do that. I don't know that I want to step on a bunch of grapes. I could do it. I don't know. Like, that's just such a interesting method of processing, just stepping on them. My feet would be purple for a long time. I don't want purple feet. Much easier to tend in smaller beds. Absolutely. I'm getting some peer pressure here to make wine. I made beer once. My senior year of college, I made beer. It did not come out well. I think I would rather make the other things and then trade them to people who really like doing the alcohol part. Because there's equipment, and you got to tend to it, and you got to. If I was going to do anything, it would probably be cider, just because of the volume of apples I have, and I could make like a lot of cider. I can make a bunch of wine, but it's still probably only going to be a few bottles, and that feels like a lot of work. And I could probably go to the store and get better wine for $5 a bottle. And my feet wouldn't be purple. What else happened this weekend? I'm thinking. That was it. I went for a hike. I worked outside. I slept in. You know what I started rewatching last night? The Mask of Zorro with Anthony Hopkins and Antonio Banderas. I don't know if you've seen that one, but I forgot how solid a movie that was. It's on Amazon Prime. And I don't know if we quite call it, the fight choreography, martial arts. It's martial arts adjacent, but it's there and it's decent, and you should watch it. Yeah. Daniel says, the small village I've just moved from has a community apple pressing day. We'll be making a lot of cider. Nice. That's cool. Now today is Monday, which means there's an episode. And my phone's being grumpy. I've got my phone in the case I take when I go hiking. I haven't taken it out yet. There it is. All right. Did you hear that? It's the opening sound. Where's my description? Because I recorded this a while ago. Okay. Today with Joe Crawford. And we had a good conversation. And he's done a whole bunch of stuff. And I think you're going to have fun with this one. This one goes all over the place in a really good way. So enjoy that. I should probably leave myself notes for the future. Like when you talk about this episode, say these things. I should do that. I'm going to try to remember to start doing that. But you'll probably listen to it anyway, and you'll probably love it because most of the time people do. Daniel says people bring their apples, but then very few of them actually want the juice. We'll use it. That's crazy. Who doesn't want apple juice? That's nuts. What did I just bump into yesterday? Oh, so we have a website, Martial Arts Podcast, where we list other martial arts podcasts, and somebody submitted their podcast. And it's basically our show, like the whole premise. They even use the word story a lot. Now, we've only had a couple guests overlap, and they've even had one guest that kept no-showing on me. So I was kind of jealous. Of course, we're going to list it. But I thought it was kind of cool that our concept is good enough that other people want to use our concept. Sweet. Run with it. I hope you do some things better than we do so we can find ways to improve and steal your ideas, because we're going to do that. Karate with Belt says, and in Canada, it's backwards. With the delay, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Help me out. So what's going on today? Today being a holiday, most of my meetings are canceled. I have one meeting today, actually two. Plugged one in last night. 2 meetings today. I've got a handful of things. If you haven't been over to, here, I want to show you this. If you haven't been over to whistlekickprograms.com, you haven't seen the new logos. And I'm going to show you because I'm super proud of them. Because I didn't do the final design, but I did the mock-up. And my phone's literally telling me that I have no internet connection. Fine, we'll do it this way. You're going to be all grumpy about it. Anybody else ever have this with technology? Oh, and in Canada, it's backwards, the apples. People don't bring the apples, but they want the cider. Yeah, I can see that. Everybody's technology ever just, act grumpy? Just doesn't work for no reason whatsoever. I'm on the verge of the logos. I'm on the verge of completely replacing my whole network again because, well, I did it already and it was working and it took a while. And this is going to be so anticlimactic. It really is. Now that I've talked this up and you're like, we're waiting, Jeremy, we're waiting. Okay, there we go. So we've renamed the programs and we put them into puzzle pieces. I'm fairly sure you have internet right now unless you're streaming via witchcraft. Exactly. My phone tells me this all the time. I've got a Google Home in the bathroom, and it's like I can't find the internet. It's like 12 feet away. It's through 3 interior walls. Try harder. Ugh, silly thing. So those puzzle pieces, I'm really, really stoked about those because I came up with the idea a couple weeks ago and sketched it out, renamed it. And Daniel says shiny logos. Yeah, I like them, and people are downloading that Flex program. They're digging it. Has anybody in the chat right now downloaded and started that program? I would love your feedback. Maybe you can encourage others to check it out. So drop your comments on the chat, and I will mention it. All right, let's switch gears. Let's switch to all the stuff that you guys have given me to talk about. Frank gave me stuff, and there's some stuff left over from Jared last week. Let's dig in. All right. So last Thursday was not just Lennox Lewis's birthday, as we talked about. It was also Yuen Wah's birthday. Yuen Wah is an actor, stuntman, and martial artist. Here are some facts about him from IMDb. He was Bruce Lee's stand-in for Fist of Fury because they had a similar body type and he was able to copy Bruce Lee's style. What? Bruce Lee had a stand-in? Why would Bruce Lee have a stand-in? Bruce Lee was perfect. Oh, thanks, Frank. Frank says it looks really nice. I appreciate it. Didn't realize you were here. I'm glad you're here. All my friends here hanging out. This really is a great way to start the day. You guys are awesome. He was killed 3 times in Enter the Dragon. Each time, he was portraying a different character. And alongside Lam Ching-Ying and Tung Wai, Yuen Wah is one of the few Hong Kong stuntmen to have been initiated to Jeet Kune Do by Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was great. Bruce Lee did wonderful things for the martial arts. Bruce Lee deserves respect and to be honored. Bruce Lee was not infallible. He was not perfect. His concepts are just that, concepts. And I think some people in the martial arts need to stop worshiping at the temple of Bruce Lee, because it keeps you stuck in the past. And the only reason I think that that happens is because we have this odd paradox in the martial arts that older is better for many of us. And it's not. You ever see people get into art, like real arguments about how old a style is? Why does that matter? Like, really, why does that matter? Why does it matter that, whether Taekwondo is 50 years old or 100 years old or 500 years old? Why does that matter? Because somehow we've decided that lineage equates to effectiveness and credibility, worth. It's ridiculous. It's not the case. Here's something that will probably frustrate, maybe even piss off people, but I doubt any of you watching. The martial arts that you practice right now is different than the martial arts your instructor practiced when they were coming up. Whether or not they recognize it, they changed it. There are little changes. How do I know? Because try to show me any form with an instructor and a student who have not trained together for a few years, 2 years, 3 years. Put them side by side, and you'll see that they're different. Maybe not majorly different, but slightly different. And if there are those slight differences just in a couple of years from instructor to student, if there are slight differences every generation, which is compounded over time because our memories aren't perfect, then we can say that over time our martial arts does change. It shifts. Now, it's probably not shifting as much now in the modern era of recording everything, but it still shifts. And I think I have said this before, I'll say it again, I'll go on record. I think one of the worst things to ever happen to ITF Taekwondo was General Choi writing everything down in an incredibly comprehensive book, because now it can't evolve. Because now if you practice ITF Taekwondo and there's a question about whether something should be done A or B, this or that, instead of arguing the question on its merits of what makes most sense in this context or what would be most applicable, whatever, the question becomes, well, what's in the book? It's a Bible. It's a Bible for ITF Taekwondo. And as someone who trained ITF Taekwondo for a long time, I see that. I don't like that. I don't think that's good. I think martial arts should evolve. I think martial arts should change. I think your style that you teach should be different than what you were taught, because it's the only way it can grow, improve. General Choi wasn't perfect. Your instructor wasn't perfect. Bruce Lee wasn't perfect. And to keep things exactly as they are, the only reason you would do that is to say that they are perfect. Daniel says, okay, I'll stop worshiping at the temple of Bruce Lee. Chuck Norris is, of course, a different story. And Dennis says, true story. Look at the same kata from students from the same style at a tournament. There are slight differences, and sometimes those differences are big. It's true. We all want to put our own mark on things. It's natural. And I feel really blessed that my original instructors had a different take on this than most. They said, look, when you're in class, you do things our way. There are opportunities for differentiating, for example, in forms, slight adjustments in timing, things like that. When you go off and you start your own school, you're free to change things around if you want. But even the techniques that you don't like, that don't work for you, you should learn them, because what if you have a student who they would work well for? The more you know, and the more you can choose from to do, but still having that wide body of knowledge is a good thing. And I completely agree. And I think you can apply the same concept to anything. Building. I don't know. We'll think of building. Most builders that I know tend to build in a particular style. They have different ways that they do things. But the more they understand other ways of doing it, the more, if they're doing a renovation or they're undoing somebody else's work, which happens, the more applicable, the more efficient that stylistic choice may be. Okay. I like how Dennis is putting this here. Innovation is greater than imitation. I agree. Completely agree. All right. Let's look at, I put this over here. So last week on the First Cup of Jeremy Facebook page, which a bunch of you have joined, thank you. Keep hanging out there. On Friday, I posted, hey, give me your Monday questions and comments here, and nobody did. But Jared gave us a bunch on Thursday or Friday, Thursday for Friday, anyway. And it was more than we could get to. So here's one, and we'll end off with this because this is a great question. Besides availability, what makes a martial art more popular? Karate and Taekwondo are much more popular now than Judo is. BJJ is quickly climbing the ranks. And it's a solid question, and I completely agree. The last time I pulled numbers, Taekwondo is estimated at 70 million people globally. Karate is estimated at 50 million people globally. It's a lot of people. What makes the difference? Judo is really the first martial art that, at least Asian martial art, that came to America, and it was popular for a while, but it totally got surpassed. Why? I would say it's the same reason that, how do I want to phrase it? References in pop culture, presence in pop culture. How often do you see someone doing judo in TV or in movies? Virtually never. How often do you see someone doing a striking art, karate, taekwondo? Quite frequently. Why is BJJ becoming more popular? Because it's discussed constantly in mixed martial arts. The more people see something as an example, the more likely they are to do it. When we think about marketing, so most of you know that I spend a good deal of time doing marketing, not only for whistlekick, but for clients. And much of what we talk about is impressions. In the old days, old marketing theory, if I read books and stuff, would talk about someone has to see something 3 times, 5 times, maybe 8 times before they make a decision. 20 years ago, that number was around 10, 13, 15. Recently, that number's been going up. I've seen experts claiming 25, 30, even 50 impressions. Okay. That means it's harder to change public perception. Most people, if you show them, I don't know, Silat or Kali or something they haven't seen, let's just say something they haven't seen before, martial arts wise, most of them are going to generalize it to something based on whatever their understanding is. They're going to generalize it to karate or to kung fu or to taekwondo. Or now the general collective term, a lot of non-martial artists use is MMA. Daniel's got a great point here that punching and kicking is quote unquote sexier than throwing. I agree. It is. It speaks to that violent aspect of us. Tommy says, when I was a kid, everybody was watching Kung Fu fighting. There was even a song. And Daniel, can you blame them? Those kicks were fast as lightning. You guys are too much. I love it. So, don't want to pour that. That is not the thing we're pouring in the cup right now. Ooh, I just moved that bourbon away. I am I am just barely awake enough that could still happen. I could. Ooh, nope, we're not. That would not set the tone for the day. Well, can't really undo that. I'm going to go back to bed and wake up at noon and try again. So the question is it bad? There are always going to be cultural references that influence what we do, how we do, why we do. And this is one of the challenges of martial arts. What do most people see martial arts as in the context of popular culture? Fight scenes. This is why I have mixed feelings about Cobra Kai. And I would share this here. I'm not going to share this on any of our other content. I enjoy the show. It is a very well done show. I am curious to see, as time goes on, if it will be responsible for significant participation in the martial arts. Because it does not, as of right now, through season 3, we are not seeing these characters, any of them, being terribly good people. And without the anchor of Mr. Miyagi to show this is how the senior superior martial artist conducts themselves, without that stake in the ground to refer to show that there is progress in that direction, I fear that a lot of people will look at it and think that traditional martial arts has had too much influence from the cage, and they are less likely to put their kids into a karate or a taekwondo or kung fu class. And that makes me sad. Hopefully I'm wrong. There are times I want to be really wrong. This is one of them. And this is something I've thought of too. Daniel says, I think everyone who is watching Cobra Kai is either already involved in martial arts or watching for the Karate Kid nostalgia. I wish that was true, but the numbers that are coming out of it and the way that, let's put it this way, Netflix renewed season 5 before season 4 even came out. What does that tell us? It tells us that Cobra Kai is one of the biggest shows they have. And we know how big Netflix is. And if it's one of their biggest shows, with martial arts participation, what it is in this country, I think it's a lot bigger than that. And Frank sums it up well. Negativity is so popular these days. It really is. And so here we go. Here's a counterpoint. And I again, I hope this is the case and I am wrong. Denise says, I've heard a few parents in our dojo say they put their kids in class because of Cobra Kai. And Daniel says, a lot of people watch Karate Kid. So maybe that's what's going on. I feel protective of the arts. I do. Which is why when someone attacks someone for the way they train or why they train or what they train, I get their back. Because I don't think anybody has the right to do that. If I go off in the backyard and I sit in a tree and I don't know, punch acorns as they fall. I slap acorns as they fall. Actually, that would be a really good drill. I'm trying to come up with something sarcastic. Let's just say I did something really goofy as martial arts. I called it martial arts. I even taught it to people. Who's to say that it's not? Maybe it's not your definition. I'm a free market capitalist sort of guy. Let people do their thing, especially when it comes to martial arts. I'm a libertarian martial artist. If what you're doing doesn't affect somebody else, don't do it. Which is why even though I have reservations about Cobra Kai, I'm not out there bad-mouthing it. I love the show. It's very entertaining. There is a hope. We are trying there. I think I mentioned, I'll say it again, and then we'll wrap. The weekend before Free Training Day, which, reminder, November 13th. I think we're at 22 of a possible 24 instructors or something. I got one more committed on Friday. It's going to be amazing, and it looks like attendance is going to be solid. So you all better have that on your calendar. It's going to be great. Oh, I don't know why I'm burping so much from coffee. The weekend before in Rhode Island, Andrew and I are going to Rhode Island Comic-Con, and a bunch of the cast from Cobra Kai is going to be there. So we're trying to get them to A, have a panel, and B, have me moderate. So we've reached out. We've reached out to Comic-Con. We've reached out to John Hurwitz, who was on Martial Arts Radio. He's one of the writers and founding people of Cobra Kai. So we'll see. We'll see if I can do it. I would love to do it. I would have to rewatch all 3 seasons probably several times and take a lot of notes. That would be fun to call that work. And come on the podcast. Yeah, and honestly, that's why we're going. We're trying to get a bunch of them to come on the podcast. Most of them. Not all of them. Some of them I really don't have any interest in talking to, but I'm not going to tell you who that is. All right. I hope you have a great day. I hope if you're working a normal day, you have a great normal day. If you are in the States and you've got the day off, I hope you do something fun and maybe connect with family. Maybe you take a little bit of time and train. And the last thing I want to say, I'm going to noodle with, I've been noodling with this, and I'm going to share it with you. No, I'm not ready to share this. This idea needs to gestate more. Anyway, forget I said it. Leave me some questions, some comments, some whatever in the Facebook group or on YouTube, or email me. Just leave it somewhere. We'll try to get it answered or discussed tomorrow. I appreciate all of you. So many of you showed up on an off day, on a holiday day. So thanks for doing that. Daniel wants Billy Zabka. Dennis says that would be amazing. That's a goal. I would love to have him on the show. I've heard him interviewed a few times, and he's solid. He'd be a great guest. All right, you guys. See you tomorrow. Take care. Peace.